What's up, you lazy, entitled, basement-dwelling millennials, bootstrapping boomers, apathetic Xers, and goddamn Gen Z kids today? Today we're going down south to Congress with Clayton, who is high as shit right now on painkillers and prednisone because because he's got walking pneumonia, but he's going to tough it out with us. And as always, anytime we've tried to have David on the podcast, Riverside decides to throw a fit. They really don't like him for some reason. And so all of us are on our phone right now because it's not working on the browser. So we apologize for all of the quality issues. I still blame David or Pam Bondi, who's trying to silence David. Whatever it is. But David, how you doing aside from being deathly ill?
No painkillers, antibiotics, and prednisone. No painkillers, but I am hurting a little bit. But it's that old feeling of for anyone who's ever experienced broken ribs, that's what it feels like. But you don't actually have broken ribs, so I'll muster through. The antibiotics will work, and we'll keep on going because. In today's world and current events and everything that's going on with this absolutely absurd and disgraceful and shameful administration, we got to press on.
Yeah, absolutely. So you and I have been friends for a while online. Finally, actually got to meet IRL, as the kids say, in DC, which was pretty awesome. You did some great speeches up there. And a little while earlier this year, you announced a run for Congress against Virginia Fox down in North Carolina. And what on God's green earth possessed you to run for Congress?
Well, I saw an opportunity because our nation's seen an unprecedented amount of people leaving the traditional establishment Democratic Party, and of course, people leaving the Republican Party because the Republican Party isn't even doing anything for long lifetime registered Republicans and becoming independent and unaffiliated. I saw the opportunity. It used to be that a third party vote was just a wasteful vote, but we're seeing, especially in my state, the unaffiliated independent movement is growing bigger than ever, especially when you have to confront things like gerrymandering, where districts are
Hmm.
so chopped up and cut up to basically take away the will of the people and rig the overall vote count. The only way to defeat a gerrymander war is to make an option possible where you can represent both traditional Republicans as well as traditional Democratic voters, and get away from this party allegiance and back to more of a movement of for the every American, everyday American,
Hmm.
being represented by an everyday American who goes on podcasts with feeling like broken ribs and walking pneumonia, instead of these people that are just going to these luxurious, lavish dinners and their Dubai vacations and their Cabo vacations and their super PACs and dark money and APAC funding, you know, malfeasance against the will
Hmm.
of the people and the actual representatives, or being the definition of the word representative. So that it's a lofty goal, it's a lofty task, but it's one that I believe we can accomplish. And I've got my eye on the prize. I will never be a politician. I will always be a representative when I win my race. I have publicly stated on many occasions that I will only be in there for 2 terms, 4 years. Two years to call out in 4K every single person within our government that is on the take and who is buying them. And when we can actually have reasonable discussions instead of this back and forth ass kissery convention between the gentle lady to my left, the gentleman to my right, and instead have people on the House floor and say, "You're a damn dirty crook. And you are bought and paid for, and you don't even do a damn bit of work for your own constituents, let alone the country." Until we have representatives that actually say, to hell with this decorum and this, bowing down to these people because they have instituted this kind of mentality of that they don't work for us. We have to beg for their time and attention and praise them when they do the most basic of their jobs. So, yeah, first 2 years, I'm going to go and fuck shit up, point blank. Second 2 years, I'm going to institute laws that it won't matter which party is in power for this back and forth majority bullshit. We need laws on the books that prevent us from ever having to deal with this past decade that we've been having to deal with, that just are set in stone and help the American public instead of this arguing back and forth bullshit. One of the things I want to put on the books is a Budget Accountability Act. If we had had something like a Budget Accountability Act, then the one big beautiful bill most likely never would have happened. Because the Budget Accountability Act, in my vision, says if you want to make tax cuts for your rich buddies and not actually help the American people, you're free to do so. But the only programs you can cut from are those that cannot pass audits, such as DHS, such as the Pentagon, not things that routinely pass audits like Social Security or Medicaid or Medicare. They can make all the cuts in the world for their tax cuts for their billionaire buddies, but they're not going to be able to take away from the everyday Americans that have already paid into these programs and are deserving of every single one of these programs.
So on that type of I like the idea of that type of accountability legislation, but what would prevent, say, this administration from coming in and doging the shit out of everything, cutting people to make these programs operate so ineffectively that then they wouldn't pass an audit? And, Republicans love being like, "Hey, the government doesn't work, and we're going to do everything to prove that to you by making sure that it doesn't work," and so that's where I would be worried that they would just take that as an opportunity to go make these programs operate inefficiently without cutting budgets. Then they don't pass their audits because they don't have enough people working to take care of everything. And then they just go back and see, like, now, look, these programs are wasteful. We can cut it past past that debt, because it's not even like these cuts never make up for the debt that they incur from these billionaire
Right.
tax cuts. Um, so that's where that would be one thing that I'd be worried about. And have you thought about that at all, and
Yeah,
how you'd
I
safeguard against that?
understand. I understand your concern. The
Hmm.
CBO and the Treasury are who perform the audits, not the individual departments themselves. The CBO and the Treasury perform the audits.
Right. Well, and I understand.
They won't be cut from because they're the ones writing the checks. Uh,
Hmm.
but I understand what you're saying. I think if I think Doge was unconstitutional, illegal to begin with, and
Well,
the
I mean,
fact,
every fucking thing this administration has done
yeah,
so far has been
it
unconstitutional and illegal, and they just don't
it's
care.
like the Department of War. I mean, it's
Yeah.
first of all, it's not congressionally mandated. There's never been a bill or an act put in place or a resolution to actually rename from Department of Defense to Department of War.
Hmm.
Second of all, you want to talk about waste, fraud, and abuse? It's going to cost us like $10 billion just to rename everything over to the
Hmm.
Department of War. So just because Donald Trump makes up a fictional agency like Doge or department or puts out an EO does not make it law. And the fact that this Congress is so damn silent and complying with every single one of his whims is just absolutely absurd. And we're seeing a lot of pushback from the Democrats, but you know what? We're not seeing pushback from the Democrats on. We're not seeing pushback from the Democrats on calling out the blatant corruption that is
Hmm.
in the executive branch that spills all the way over to the judicial branch as well as the legislative branch. And I tell a lot of the younger generations, like especially when I'm talking about only wanting to be in there for 2 terms, is that I don't want to be a politician. I don't want to be in there. I want to remove the roadblocks. I want to call them out so that I can make way for the younger generations to come in. Because until we actually root out and call out by name and
Hmm.
publicly shame these people 24 hours a day, no justice, no peace. Anytime they're out at a restaurant, anytime they're out at a Beetlejuice performance
Hmm.
play or something like that, like I want the public to surround these people and drop the receipts that I will provide in 4K of exactly who is bought and paid for and who's doing the buying and paying for, because it's not enough just to call out the representatives. You got to call out these companies and these crooked ass CEOs to their face as well,
Hmm.
and these APACs and even NRA. That's why
Hmm.
I also want to implement a law which is going to be a really hard sell because so many of these people are on the take. But we need to ban all foreign funded organizations from political contributions,
I
period.
mean, it's wild to me that foreign organizations are allowed to lobby within the United States, period. I mean,
Right.
that seems it seems like one of those, duh, that's a national security risk at the very least, and just ethically ambiguous, just on its face, and then obviously tons of repercussions, especially when you think about countries like Saudi Arabia and Qatar that have, and Israel, obviously, that spend a lot of
And the
time.
United
Um,
Emirates, all of them. I mean,
uh-huh.
Well,
there's
and isn't it the
any
case?
foreign funded organizations, and that would also carry over into home base operations to stopping
Mhm.
them from accepting foreign contributions because you got age old organizations like the NRA who, when they're dealing with financial crisis, accept contributions from countries and state actors such as Hungary and Russia. Just so that, I mean, at that point, it's just
Mhm.
using American based organizations to launder foreign lobbying to then lobby and
Well,
make political contributions. So any and all foreign contributions need to be kicked out of our politics. I don't care
yeah.
where they're originating from and where they end up coming from.
What were you gonna say, Taylor?
Well, I mean, there's two things with that. Isn't it already illegal for like foreign nationals to give direct contributions? So like this would
Unless you're
be
buying crypto.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So
Well,
like, I
yeah.
mean, this would just be an extension of that. So I feel like that's not, it shouldn't be that crazy of a sell. And then I guess secondly, if we just shifted entirely to publicly funded elections, and there's
Hmm.
no corporate contributions at all, then there's no issues with this whatsoever.
Yeah, we got to get. My phone keeps falling. Sorry about that.
Yeah, yeah.
We got to get rid of Citizens United. Absolutely, the hard
Yeah.
sell is going to be APAC, and I'm going to be posting on this later today because I'm a big fan of James Tellerico, but I also absolutely love the fight with Jasmine Crockett and her announcing for running for Senate now, and they're going to be going up against each other. I saw a clip of Jasmine Crockett where she was asked about why because apparently she doesn't accept any APAC donations, which is wonderful. But
Hmm.
she still votes down party lines as far as voting for continued aid and arms to Israel and things of that nature. And uh, yes, we need to get like every single representative should stop receiving APAC donations. Uh, it may have started out as something noble in the past, but it was only not even that long ago that they went from lobbying for policy and legislation to actually donating to incumbents and candidates and getting in the mix of our elections. So they need to be completely kicked out of that. But it's not enough today to see someone just not accept foreign funded organizations like APAC, but they need to actively speak out against it. I'm sorry if that puts a target on your back, but if you are not accepting
You know,
APAC, but then you're voting to supply Netanyahu with arms, that's a contradictory stance right there. So I don't know how I'm gonna side with Jasmine Crockett or James Tellerico with the Senate race because I really do respect both of them, and I think they'd
mhm.
both be really strong voices in that position. And I'm sure because of the Texas gerrymandering that's why she's running for Senate because she
Oh,
probably
I mean,
feels
yeah,
like
because
she's
she
going to be cut
originally
out
said she
around
wasn't
me.
going to run, and then the court had originally overturned the Texas gerrymandering maps, and
Right.
then after it was they won their appeal and they're allowed to move forward with those maps, that's when she kind of flipped the script and decided to run. And I was so conflicted when I got that announcement because again, I do love both of them so much. And when James Tallarico entered the race, I was like. It was my favorite thing. I'm like James Tallarico running for Senate in Texas. Like, every year we feel that this is the year to flip a seat in Texas, and
Yeah.
then it's never the year, and it always like underperforms. The fact that we continue to lose to Ted Cruz is, well, it's fucking embarrassing for one thing. But
Well,
it's also,
they also directly rig it because you got people like their Attorney General Ken Paxton literally
mhm,
throwing out millions upon millions of votes on a
yeah.
win.
Um, but the then and I thought I still think James Tallarico, and I know that the polling is leaning towards Jasmine Crockett. I think that was the other motivation for her to run is her polling numbers are really good. But again, in Texas, it always seems like the polling never quite, it always seems to overrepresent Democrats' performance. And, if Colin Allred, who fit the bill for everything Texas, former NFL player, and I love football down there, more of a moderate. He couldn't win. And I think a lot of that has to do with, Texas isn't a big fan of black people. Now you add a black woman to it, and I think that that's a big obstacle. Whereas obviously James Tallarico is whiter than Casper the Ghost and can out
Right.
Jesus even the Jeeziest of Jesus freaks. And he's young and charismatic and well spoken. And I don't know if that's all that can win in Texas. Obviously, I would love to see an incredibly accomplished, competent, strong African American woman in a federal seat like that in Texas. I mean,
Same.
she is more than deserving, and would be an incredible senator. I'm just worried. Uh, I'm worried that she'll win. I shouldn't say I'm worried that she'll win the primary. I believe that in this particular race, she's more likely to win the primary than James Tallarico. And I'm worried that if she wins the primary, she will be less competitive in the general than James Tallarico.
No, it's a valid concern, especially the sad fact of it being 2025, and we are the most regressive and least progressive as far as our um, equality
Hmm.
comparatively to the rest of the world. It is a sad fact, and it's a valid argument that I think she could win the primary, and it would be a much harder competition with the general election, and I mean, she'll never hear my words and say, hey, you know what would probably make you more competitive in the general is if you register as an independent in Texas.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, I don't think that that's necessarily true in Texas. Texas is uh has a very strong Democrat presence that just doesn't quite turn out, but I don't think that they'd turn out for an independent. Um, I think that it's
because I'm getting pressured by the DNC to run in the Democratic primaries. Little DNC ops, or even like setting up meetings with my campaign manager and inferring
uh
words of like, "Hey, you should be the North Star for the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party needs someone like you." And I'm meeting a lot of pushback because I'm running unaffiliated independent, and I'll say here on your podcast what I've been telling all of them.
hmm
I'm confident I could easily, handedly win the primary, but then I would lose the general election. The numbers
Yeah,
out here, because of the gerrymandering, make it statistically, mathematically impossible for a Dem ticket to win a general election in this district.
I uh I mean, you and I have had this conversation, privately a number of times, and obviously, now, when I say that third parties are unviable, I mean that exclusively for the presidential election. Like a third party cannot win a presidential race in our current
I agree with that. Right now, I agree with
uh-huh.
that. Maybe in 10 years that'll be different, but right
Yeah,
now
I
it's
mean,
true.
we'd have to have some major structural and systemic change to make
Right.
a third party viable, which would include getting rid of the electoral college and
Yeah.
instituting ranked choice voting.
Yeah.
If we don't have those two things, it's just the way our system's set up. It is,
It's a money game.
statistically, yeah. But obviously in Congress and the Senate, independents can and do win on occasion. Obviously, Taylor and I, one of our favorite politicians, if we can say that we have a favorite politician, is Bernie Sanders, who's obviously lifelong independent, and, uh, and has held that seat effectively. You see it less in the House, which I do think is weird, and I do think that that has something to do with gerrymandering as well, that independents are less successful in the House.
Hmm.
But I do think I wish that uh, North Carolina Democrats who are pushing you to run as a Democrat would be willing to step back, and as long as you agreed to caucus with Democrats, which I think you'd have no problem doing, you would,
Caveat. Caveat.
yeah,
I would caucus with Democratic policy, not the
yeah.
party. not
Sure.
a
Uh-huh.
down the line vote. If it's the policy, and you know what I mean, looking back at the last 10 years of Republican policy, it'll probably not happen anytime soon. But if there was a piece of Republican legislation that
Mm-hmm.
actually helped Americans, I would support that.
Sure.
If it's legislation that actually helps Americans, but this
Mm-hmm.
just going down the party line shit is what has led us to where we are today.
No, I agree wholeheartedly, and I think I guess that's what's been my frustration in your particular race is that a Democrat is very unlikely to win, and an independent is more likely to win if a Democrat is not running. And that's where, like obviously I compare your race to the Dan Osborne race a lot simply because even though that's Senate, that's a person running as an independent going to caucus with Democrats, blue collar, very MAGA presenting, male in a in a heavily red area and running against unpopular candidates. And I don't think that anybody's disillusioned into thinking that Virginia Fox, your opponent, is popular. I
No,
don't think
no.
anybody's like, I really love Virginia Fox.
I have yet to meet a single Republican out here that's a
Hmm.
Trump Republican that
Hmm.
likes Virginia Fox.
Yeah, and so they're voting for the letter beside her name, not for the candidate as a person. And so I really wish, and this is where I get kind of frustrated with the party sometimes, and sometimes even just the politicians, because obviously a person can choose to run as a Democrat whether the party wants them to or not. And so, you can't, this party can't necessarily tell people that they're not allowed to run under that party title. But the party not being willing to endorse you as, the candidate that the Democratic Party endorses, pull any support from people running as a Democrat, and allow you uh, to pick up those votes that'll inevitably vote D because D is the letter beside their name that they vote for that vote party line, where you'd be have the ability to pick those up, and that is frustrating. That they aren't willing to do that because that seems like it'd be a better winning strategy for them as well.
Can you imagine uncontested gerrymandered red districts across the nation where the DNC or the DCCC or the DSC heavily invested in unaffiliated independent candidates to challenge
Hmm.
the Republican incumbents?
Yeah.
Can you imagine if the picture of the house, the graph we all have come to hate,
Hmm.
where it's partially blue
Hmm.
and partially red, mostly red right now, unfortunately, but by a hair margin. If there was
Hmm.
a huge wedge right in the middle of that was just all gray for
It wouldn't
independent,
even need to be
what the hell?
a
And
huge
how much
wedge. If you,
leverage those
yeah.
independents would actually hold
Hmm.
over the party line bullshit, where both
Hmm.
sides are forced to go to the independents to say, hey, I need you to support my thing. Well, your thing helps the rich, helps yourself, and
Hmm.
fucks Americans. So fuck you,
No.
respectfully.
I mean, it wouldn't even need to be a huge wedge. I mean, if you had 10 seats held by independents right
Right,
now, that they would be the deciding factor in legislation, and a
right.
lot of this really ridiculous legislation would be less likely to pass. Like the big bastard bill there. And so I do think that
And
I
the
want to see
legislative
this.
branch would actually have equal power again as it's
Hmm.
supposed to be instead of just doing the will of the executive branch.
Hmm. Um, so I guess this is where I'm a perpetual pessimist and skeptic when it comes to politics, just because I've been chronically involved in political discourse for longer than probably is healthy for most humans, and so I'm always trying to be the voice of reason when we talk about this, but you've put out some numbers there as to why you're really confident that you can be successful, even running on a split ticket that has both a Democrat and a Republican, and you as an independent. And I'd like you to go ahead and just share
Two
that and
Democrats,
why
by the way, two
two
Democrats.
Democrats.
And the
Are they
DNC
they're
is
going to run through the general with two Democrats?
no, they have to go through the primary,
Going
obviously. What's
primary,
really
yeah.
pissing me off about the North Carolina DNC is they're already putting their support behind Chuck Hubbard.
Mm-hmm.
There is a valid challenger to Chuck Hubbard, a Gen
Mm-hmm.
Z young man named Kaya Creekmore. But you're not going to see the DNC and their, behind the channels people pushing Kaya Creekmore. They've already decided that before the primaries even happened that Chuck Hubbard is their person. And that just reaffirms my distaste for this you must be allegiant to party mindset
Hmm.
nonsense that we're seeing on both sides of the aisle now, respectfully.
Yeah. Oh, I want you to get into those numbers. The other thing before we kind of move on from this topic, though, that I wish that the Democratic Party would do more of is, and we talk about investing in local elections a lot, like unaffiliated elections, such as school board and city council and stuff that are nonpartisan. Because the Republican Party has been doing that for years, and it's paid off in huge ways, both in incubating candidates for the future and allowing them to shape policy on a local level that is largely ignored. So they can make really big changes incrementally that nobody pays attention to until it's too late and really difficult to undo those things. And they can test
Right.
bed policy and see what they can get away with without getting that national attention and pushback. And Democrats have just let them do that and done absolutely almost none of that. But also the fact that Democrats haven't in really red districts where it's like, okay, we are not going to win, why they haven't been putting effort and time into backing candidates in the Republican primary that are going to be more sympathetic to reaching across the aisle and being bipartisan and working with Democrats and working for their constituents rather than simply, doing the bidding of whatever cult leader happens to control the party at the time. And because that seems like, again, another winning strategy. We can dump money into a candidate we know is going to lose, or we can spend some time working and helping elevate candidates. It's like, all right, if a Republican's going to be a Republican in this district, why don't we get a Republican that's not fucking Lauren Boebert or, Jim Jordan? Why don't we get one that's at least reasonable and willing to compromise on some of the major issues? And I don't know what you think about that, or if you'd ever had considered running, trying to infiltrate on that
I,
side.
I would never, I would never run Republican because I'll give you a direct quote from my passed on father. I would rather be broke, poor, and honest than a rich thief living a lie. I am
Mm-hmm.
not a Republican. I've never been a Republican. I am a fiscally conservative progressive because
Mm-hmm.
progressive policies actually are fiscally conservative.
Yeah.
So this you have to pick one side or the other thing. That's not for me, man.
Yeah.
I would rather lose honest and being true to
Yeah.
my principles than ever play this pick team red side just temporarily, and then once you get elected, you can flip to independent or whoever you want. That's not me, man. I mean, being dishonest has become so casually synonymous with the word politician. We need
Mm-hmm.
actual representatives of everyday Americans, not rich people, not
Right.
people that call themselves
Mm-hmm.
self-made gurus but came from a long legacy of rich family members. We need actual everyday Americans to represent everyday Americans because what we're seeing today in Congress is it's either someone with an Ivy League law degree or someone coming from a rich family and or both that are
Mm-hmm.
representatives. And that does not make up 99.9% of everyday Americans. We are being taxed without any actual representation. They may put out things on one side of the aisle or the other that the everyday American agrees with, but as far as life lived experiences, these people are all out of touch with the everyday American because their blessings and hardships are completely different than the everyday American's blessing and hardships. I've got $400 to my name. I had to pay $200 for the ER just to get antibiotics and prednisone. These people don't have to worry about being sick. These people don't have to worry about paying their electric bill. These people don't have to worry about can I afford an overpriced DoorDash tonight? These
Right.
people have no concept of what a blessing for an everyday American is, like being able to have a lavish DoorDash meal delivered and pay your electric bill at the same time and have your hospital bill covered. That would be a blessing if I could achieve all those things. These people have no idea what an actual hardship of an everyday American is, because their blessings are they just made $5 million in 2 hours. Their hardships are, oh, I didn't sell that stock soon enough. Instead of making 10 million, I only made 7.
Oh, I definitely hear and feel what you're saying on the being dishonest, and I have to agree with you. It'd be a pretty tough pill, pride-wise, for me to swallow and say that, yeah, I'm running as a Republican, you know. But I don't know that it would be necessarily dishonest if you were honest about the fact that I know that to win in this particular district, Republicans are the only ones who are considered, and I don't think that Republicans
I
or
disagree.
Democrats
I
are
disagree.
getting. Well, let me finish here.
Republican
Um,
votes are needed, Jordan. I've told you
mhm.
this before. Republican votes in my district are needed.
I wasn't
But
saying your district specifically. I was just
no,
saying,
but
in
I'm focused on my district. In my
yeah,
district, I don't even need Democrat votes to win. I need
hmm
Republicans and unaffiliated. And when I get elected, I will work for all of the constituent, regardless of
hmm
how they're registered to vote. But in this gerryman district, I need Republicans to vote.
yeah,
Unaffiliated will put me over the line, but I need Republican votes to win here. And the Republicans here, even the Trump Republicans, hate Virginia Fox because in 20 years she hasn't done a damn thing for them. So I welcome taking some of Chuck Hubbard's Democratic votes that he thinks he's
hmm
entitled to. And I will do the job for all of them too and push forward progressive policy, workers' rights, family workers' rights, everything that this state has been desperate for too long because the workers' rights out here are atrocious. And the layoffs are out of control. Thanks to Trump, nationwide, the layoffs are out of control. I will put together policies that will help North Carolina, but help the entire nation by getting rid of our biggest fucking hurdle that has made it you have to choose one side or the other, red or blue. And that is the backroom closed door meetings of all these bought and paid for corruption that the general American public really has no idea how deep it goes.
hmm
They see the websites of the trackers and you can see what's disclosed here and there, but there are so many instances of stuffed manila envelopes being slid under boardroom tables and shit, literally
It's just a
buying
Tom Homan, and
politics from this people.
they come in paper bags, you know.
And I'm sorry to say, but it's on both sides of the aisle, man. This is
Oh,
not
of course it
this is
is.
not a
I mean,
Republican thing only.
and
Look at the guy that
the
Trump just
difference,
pardoned that
right?
is now running for office again.
The difference between uh the difference why I would say it's not a two-sided issue in the same way that it like it's not saying that it doesn't happen on both sides of the aisle, but one side of the aisle holds those people accountable when it comes out and tries to push them out of the party. Obviously, we saw that with Menendez. We saw that with the guy that Trump
Only
just
after he
pardoned.
got caught. Only after he
Yeah.
got caught.
Well, I mean,
Do you really believe that none of his colleagues knew what he was doing before he got caught?
oh no, I'm entirely certain that some people obviously knew what he was doing, and certain people keep their mouth shut. But the difference is when we see the same thing happen on the right, and it does come
No, I know. I know.
to the public, like they just go double down to bat for these people and their
I know.
corruption,
I know.
and that's where
They've always
it's
gotten a free pass with the shit, and
yep.
they are
hmm
absolutely always guilty of it. I know, and they've
hmm
normalized it to the point where it's become a laughable topic now, where it's like, oh, Menendez did this, holy hell water, let's stop the presses, But Marjorie Taylor Greene just increased her net worth from 400K when she was sworn in to $40 million. There's
Right.
obviously nothing wrong there. Or Donald Trump making
hmm
$6 billion, his family in 3 months or 11 months time. They've normalized it to the point where it's expected of them, and therefore they get a free pass. I say fuck that. I'm gonna walk through the halls of Congress with shackles, ready to throw them on suits, straight up.
Oh.
Might not end well for you.
No, no, I wouldn't have the same protection that all of these corrupt bastards get.
Yeah, it was wild though. Just being able to, and I want to stress this to everybody is you don't have to have an invite to go to Congress and visit your congressperson. You literally can just walk the fuck in. You got to go through a metal detector, but that's it. And I mean, it's
Jackals.
like that is it. So go if you have access to go to DC, it is 100% worth taking your time to go there and knock knock on your Congress people's door, knock on your senator's door, and tell them exactly what you think of them. You know, you can bring them handwritten letters. You can and a lot of times they won't be there. You won't get a meeting with them, but you can talk to their staff and say that you want to talk to their actual legislative staff. And you can go throw a fit. You can make a scene in there and you can film it and you can put it online and show other people that they can do this too.
Yeah.
So that's
And if you
uh
support my campaign and you're in District 5, North Carolina, and you vote to send me to Congress, I will be one of the people walking through with the little lapel button that says member of Congress with literal shackles so that I don't have to worry about those metal detectors. And I will literally throw them around the feet and wrists of some of these corrupt motherfuckers.
But
Y'all
not the
think I'm
one,
kidding. I'm
but
not.
not the ones for your personal use, right? Though, just the ones for them.
not the fuzzy shackles.
Let's not get weird now. That's just weird.
uh, so Now, again, we've talked about this, and I've never been shy about saying that I'm skeptical about an independent winning when there's still a Democrat on the ticket, and you're obviously very confident that that won't be an issue, and you've shared some numbers with me, and do you want to share with the audience why you are confident that you think that this is the appropriate way to go about this, and why you think you'll be successful?
It's the only way to go. Virginia Fox has gone undefeated, defeating every single Democratic challenger for the past 20 plus years, 10 terms. It is literally, because of gerrymandering, the only path to victory. And I'm not saying I'm going to win. I'm saying I'm going to win. But
Hmm.
realistically, it'll still be a fight. But like I said, the numbers, the statistics are what they are. And there are
Hmm.
more Republican and unaffiliated voters than there are the total amount of Democratic voters. I could literally get 0 registered Democrat votes and still win as long as I got Republican votes and as long as I got unaffiliated votes.
And how many Republican votes do you need? Because I think that that's the big sell there, right? Like the unaffiliated is
38%.
which is
38%
which is a huge number,
of Republican, not total
right?
voters.
Right. No, I understand, but that's still that's a and is that 38% of registered, or is that 38% of Republicans that voted in the last election?
Registered Republicans.
So I
Registered
mean,
Republican voters today.
so that's a big sell because not only do you need the Republicans to vote
It's
for.
really not when you consider the unaffiliated number totals. 38% works out to roughly 550,000, where the unaffiliated dominate the
Hmm.
total registered. Like I was telling you earlier, Jordan, this is an unprecedented
Hmm.
time where registered unaffiliated are dominating the total numbers of registered voters comparably to both Republican and Democrat. In North Carolina
Hmm.
specifically, there are more unaffiliated than either the Democrat registered or Republican. It's an unprecedented time in our nation's history because it goes against what we've historically seen, that, well, independents don't really stand a chance because there's not enough independent voters. People are
Hmm.
leaving both parties in
No,
swarms,
I
still supporting their either Republican or Democrat that they actually like and support, but are registering as unaffiliated independent because they are sick and tired of the duopoly party. People are now more focused than ever on person over party. And I aim to be that representative that focuses on person and policy as far as the constituents, as far as Americans over party. Because, like I said before, going down the party line, it has, as if you always do what you've always done, you will always get what you've always gotten,
Mhm.
and has led to where we are today.
So I understand that, the actual numbers and whatnot you're saying about going as independent. What do you say about the movement as a whole if for progressive candidates to sort of be the Tea Party within the Democratic Party that was the Tea Party and
Yeah.
then the MAGA? How do you feel about that movement? Do you feel like in your specific circumstances, it makes sense to not really do that same formula, or do you
No,
just
absolutely. No, I love it. I hate the reference because I've been seeing it just like you have all over the internet of calling this progressive democratic socialist movement as the Tea Party within the
Hmm.
Democratic Party. I love it because the candidates that are winning that are Democrats
Hmm.
are the younger generation, are progressive, are anti-foreign funded organizations, and are anti-war and more benefit to Americans' lives, workers' rights, the cost of living, healthcare reform, firearm safety reform. These are the candidates that are winning. What I hate about what they're doing, because I fully support all of those candidates. What I hate is that now is the time because we've only just begun seeing this within the last 6 months of their, God, I hate the reference of Tea Party movement, but their
Hmm.
version of Tea Party movement coming into the system. But now we're starting to see, all right, are they still being as loud as they were when they're campaigning, or are they butting up to the hardcore establishment within the Democrat Party and telling them you can feel how you feel, but you need to get in line a little bit and slow your roll and come to us for permission on things you want to talk about. I'm not saying that this new movement has subverted to that, has bowed down to that, but I'm seeing a lot of strong voices get awfully quiet after they won their election really fast, and they need to stay true to their progressive roots, to their democratic socialist roots, and to the campaigns of specifically focusing on the people, not the party. But they've got a huge obstruction in front of them right now with the establishment core, because make no mistake, on both the Republican, which is completely, the MAGA side has completely gone subservient to Donald Trump, to the Democrat establishment, the old guard, which is old guard is even timeless now because you've got younger generations replacing and stepping in for the old guard, like Hakeem taking over for Pelosi. It's still the old guard, it's just a different suit and a younger face. You are seeing these progressives having to confront the realization that, oh shit, there's a big ass machine in front of me now. And if I really want to stick to what I was selling, I've got a big ass fight in front of me because I'll tell you what, this establishment elite, they play dirty. I'm
Hmm.
seeing it just on my campaign, which also reaffirms my confidence level of actually winning because if I wasn't a threat, they wouldn't be paying me so much attention.
Would it surprise you that the was it the Progressive Caucus has almost 25% of Congress right now, and that they're probably only about 10 seats or so from gaining a majority of Democratic seats?
I love to see it. How much power do they have in committees?
That's a good question.
I mean, they've got a fair amount. We came across that little factoid when we interviewed Jimmy Gomez, and he's on the Ways and Means Committee, which is a huge, powerful committee. Isn't AOC now on the Oversight Committee?
Right.
And Jasmine Crockett was on the Oversight Committee. So I mean, we're getting progressives
But do you see what
on
I'm saying?
hmm.
25% of the total party, but
No, no,
how many?
25% of all of Congress.
Oh, of all of
It's
Congress.
closer.
Okay.
It's closer. It's like 46% of the party in Congress.
Okay. And so let's take just the party alone.
Hmm.
46% of the party, and you just named three individuals, four individuals on committees. Like I
That's
want to
off
see
the top of my head. I mean,
I
I
want
don't
to see
know if
them
I could name
overwhelmingly
more
take
than
over the
that on
leaders.
committees, period. Like, I mean, just like, off the top of my head without sitting here and Googling who sits on what committees.
No, but I could
Uh,
tell you the four names you just named, including Gomez, who you interviewed,
hmm
are really it. The rest are part of the establishment, man.
uh, I mean, if they're part of the establishment, I don't know how they fit onto a progressive caucus.
No, no, you're misunderstanding. I'm saying the rest of the Dems that are on committees.
Hmm. Um,
Maxwell Frost is on a couple
oh,
committees.
Okay, five. Sorry, five of 46.
Uh,
I mean, look. I'm not trying to say I don't support them. I'm trying to
hmm.
state the very realistic obstruction of their movement with this.
Oh, it's
I
it's
mean,
certainly
it's
it's
corrupt
certainly
by
an
any
obstruction.
it's corrupt by any definition. You can call
for
it
Right.
sure.
legal
Huh.
because you can call it legal corruption, but it's corruption by any definition. Any of these mostly 70-year-old plus lawmakers that are making policy, dealing with regulation, dealing with the energy sector or deregulation, dealing with crypto, dealing with AI, dealing with stocks, dealing with foreign geopolitical policy, places like Israel and APAC, Saudi Arabia, United Emirates, Qatar. I always say that wrong. Qatar. Yeah. You know, it is just like Republicans have normalized in Congress being corrupt. I'm seeing a whole lot of establishment Dems that are following suit and being like, well, you know, it is okay. It is okay. So I do want to push forward this movement I'm seeing with progressives.
Yeah. And I mean, it
I,
is pushing forward, and that's really the reality we've seen here recently. Is we've had major progressive wins. Obviously, Mamdani over Cuomo in New York. Um, Even though Afton Bain lost, having a progressive candidate in Tennessee make up from a 22-point loss to an 8-point loss in the span of a year is
no,
fucking massive.
no.
And,
I'll tell your viewers something that they're not going to want to hear though.
hmm,
Republicans don't give a shit that she swayed all the counties into the blue. All they care about is that she lost and that yes man Trumper won. They don't care about the transition
right.
and sway.
And that's perfectly fine. In fact, I'm glad that they don't care because that means that they aren't taking it as seriously as they should be if they want to maintain their power. Them not
Right.
caring is good for us because the reality is that that's showing that even in heavily gerrymandered districts, we can flip seats. We can if we push the
But did
turnout.
we?
I mean, we've had again, Virginia, all these special elections have performed really, really well, and we have flipped seats in them.
Now people have argued this with me and saying, well, like Afton Bain was pretty close to flipping that seat. Why don't you run as a Democrat? And I had to tell them straight up, well, it is apples and oranges because Tennessee
Hmm
7 demographics are completely different
Oh,
than North
yeah.
Carolina District 5.
No, absolutely. I mean, we had
She actually
Allie.
did have a chance with
Yeah.
Democrats taking the vote, and unfortunately, not enough Democrats showed up. There was a crap ton of Dems that didn't show up to vote.
I mean, come
hmm
on. You have
Oh.
Sparta. You have Sparta in District 5. That's a huge metropolitan area. Come on.
Yeah,
It's
it's
basically the
like
same as
10,000
Nashville.
people live there.
I mean, yeah. It is a I don't know. Would it
And
so
I knew
40?
I was going to get this pushback too from the blue no matter who crowd. That
Hmm.
like, hey, Afton Bain almost did it. You could do it. You could most certainly do it if you won as a Dem. And I have to keep on repeating, I could easily win the Democratic Party or primary, but then I would lose the general election. I am 1,000% confident. Now I'm putting out Trump percentages. I am
hmm
100% positive that I could win the primary, but I would lose the general if I ran as a Democrat. And I'll never lie to the general public and run as a Republican and purport to be something I'm not. Um, yeah, I am. Unfortunately, there is no party in stone because I know technically there's an independent party, and I don't even really follow that. I just have to call myself an independent because the North Carolina Board of Elections demands something stated. I would
Right.
Yeah.
rather just put myself out there as unaffiliated, David Clayton, because I don't. I'm so sick and tired of a country telling me which people to hate as we're
hmm
seeing with this administration. I'm so exhausted by being told every single day which countryman and woman to hate. And I'm also sick and tired of saying you have to pick a side, red or blue. I'm just so
hmm
sick of that. And the unprecedented amount nationwide of registered no affiliate or unaffiliated, because some states call it different. It's a turning point. God, I hate that fucking word now.
It does feel a little
Man,
different.
let me. Do I have a little tissue? It's a turning
Yeah.
point, and I'm just so fortunate that the nation is going in a better direction.
uh,
Yeah, yeah, a little smoke on that because that woman is weird as fuck, and um, yeah, the body's not even cold yet. Jesus Christ, take a beat, woman.
So one thing
Uh,
I just wanted to, and sorry, David, to mess with your statement before. I was just looking at the numbers from Tennessee in 2022 and North Carolina with the new district in 20 just in 23. The numbers are actually very similar to District 7 in at least partisan line voter share. It's like 41-5 and 58-5 in Tennessee, and it's like 52-5 and 57-5 for District 5 in North Carolina. So without it having,
What numbers are you looking at? Because in 2024, Hubbard lost by actually unprecedented amount compared to her previous victories, Fox's previous victories. But in 2024,
yeah,
uh, Hubbard lost by nearly 75,000 votes,
but he lost by about 20
20 points,
points. Yeah,
20 points,
that's
which is a huge deficit to make up. And we are, since
yeah,
2025, 2024, actually, we're seeing, like I said, more, I believe it's 2.3 statewide, not just the district, but statewide are unaffiliated. Um, or it's 2.6 or 7 are unaffiliated. 2.2 statewide, there's actually more Democrats, registered Democrats, than Republicans.
hmm,
The only problem is a lot of them don't come out to vote or they deal with gerrymandering. Um, and then Republicans are only at like 1.6 million. So there are more unaffiliated than both
sure.
parties. And I'm telling you, the gerrymandering, the way it's so cut up, and my district isn't the only one that does this. Like North Carolina has the craziest cut up maps, and they are blatantly racially segregated. They are absolutely going after the colleges and trying to cut out the younger generation's votes because the college kids are uh, a lot of them are mostly progressive. So yeah, they're trying to get rid of that. I mean, the only major college I've got in District 5 is App State. Really, I did have the college in Greensboro, but I think that got cut out in the last redraw. So, and they're, because of the SCOTUS ruling on the Texas maps, um, I guess North Carolina state legislation, even though they just redrew the maps, is trying to draw them even further. So it's like there's a panic happening with the Republican Party, but it's being answered back by the Democratic Party, and the only thing the Democratic Party can think to do is to just continue on with the gerrymander war and go with gerrymandering further blue states. And it's like, man, if you could just invest in capitalizing on these ruby red districts where the Republicans absolutely loathe their Republican incumbent, um, because the one thing Trump got right, Mother Mary and Joseph, I'm going to hell for this. The one thing Donald Trump got right was that he capitalized on, even though the majority of the crap that came out of his mouth was a lie, he capitalized on invoking an emotional response from his followers with pain points, things that made their life worse, even though he's done nothing to make it better and has even actually dramatically made their lives substantially worse from his campaigning. But with voters, that is a big issue, and we're seeing it on the Tea Party esque progressive side too, where they're going after pain points. They're speaking to the people instead of just saying, like, trickle down, or rich corporations or job creators, and they'll make your lives better. We're bringing manufacturing back. No, you're not.
Well, I
All
mean,
you're doing is helping the rich.
that's why you saw Trump
So
say like affordability is a Democratic scam recently, even though he said it a million times over his
yeah,
campaign in
exactly.
2024. And now it's just a populist message that he happened to use and get elected because of, and people
Yeah.
are getting elected all
the
over because they're focusing
the
on
the,
that.
the proof the proof in the formula is that if you actually say things, now for Trump, he doesn't believe anything he's saying, but
No, of
the
course
proof
not.
in the formula, I proof is in the pudding as far as what you do with your actions. And I hope Mamdani comes through on what he was saying to the people of New York. I believe he will, but we'll see. It just comes down to the actions presented, not just what you say. But the proof in the formula as far as the populist message that is winning right now, regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, is actually giving a damn about the people. And that's something that the people are desperate for because they felt like they haven't been actually cared for decades upon decades now.
No, I obviously we've got our frustrations with the way that the party has handled these things and is not going. We don't feel like they've been aggressive enough or gone on with the right tactics enough to win seats or represent people who have been disenfranchised because often when it just doesn't feel winnable, they just ignore those voters altogether. And so a lot of times, and this is a really hard thing for me to swallow, but it's something that I have to reconcile because I live in one of these areas, is that uh, it's hard to blame people in a lot of these red areas for voting Republican, even though it's against their best interests. Because when you've got one party that acknowledges them and tells them that their problems are valid, even if they're lying
Mhm.
about why those problems are valid and blaming them on things that have nothing to do with actually solving those problems, they're saying, hey, we hear that shit sucks for you and we're going to
Right.
give you, brown people to blame or the Democrats to blame or whoever to blame, and the other party just is actively putting out better legislation for you and still not great in many cases, but better legislation for you. But they're not communicating that to you. They're not talking to you and acknowledging those problems. And many times when you say, yeah, it's hard for me to put food on the table right now, they're like, yeah, but the economy is doing better than it has in years. And it's like, it ain't for me, motherfucker. And so this
Yeah.
is where I think that there is a lot of those opportunities for either progressive people who are still running under the Democratic ticket to sway elections or people running as independents who can separate themselves from that bad terminology. And obviously, Republicans being in charge hasn't made anybody's life better. So I do think that a lot of people are frustrated and not willing to take that step to saying, "Oh yeah, I was wrong. I'll vote Democrat." But everybody and their mother loves to come out and be like, "I don't agree with either party, and I'm an independent thinker." And then that's usually just code for I'm a Republican and embarrassed to admit it. But this gives them kind of that out for that embarrassment. But the fact that you're doing this, I do want to know how, because you're gonna have to get huge turnout. You're going to have to get Republican turnout, and you're going to have to get Republican turnout that's voting for you, and not the Republican candidate. And you're very openly and unapologetically anti-Trump. In fact, one of your platforms is day one filing articles of impeachment against Trump,
Yep.
which we love. But if you're a Trump voter who's a Republican and who's just like meh about Virginia Fox and looking for a better option, um, isn't that going to be a tough sell?
No, I was counting. I was counting on this. Uh, we are seeing whether the AI chatbots or Trump himself tries to say that he's got the most support amongst his party than ever before. He's
Hmm.
losing it in waves
Oh,
and
he's
waves of people.
definitely
Uh,
hemorrhaging support
you,
for
you, you,
sure.
you know what actually
Hmm.
is an indicator that the economy is actually doing great is not having to bail out the farmers because of something you created. Okay.
It's just becoming tradition. Every Trump presidency needs a
He
farm
did it in his
bailout.
first term too.
Yeah.
He did it in his first term too. Yeah, if an economy is actually doing good, then you don't need to bail out farmers because of something you did.
Hmm.
So we are seeing the flags come down. We are seeing the MAGA movement dwindle down because let's be honest, the MAGA movement lives and dies by Donald Trump. And when he loses the support, that MAGA movement loses support too. And I've often said, you've heard me say this outright, that MAGA is a lie. MAGA is the actual definition of rhino, Republican in name
Hmm.
only. And I have also built on purpose a large tent to welcome traditional Republicans. You've heard me say this countless times that I can sit at the same table with a Republican and even in disagreement have mutual respect for you as Americans. This
Yeah.
MAGA pledging, a death fealty to Donald Trump is not Republican. He's not conservative in his policies.
Hmm.
He's not constitutional in his policies, and he sure as heck is not Christ-like in not only his policies but his behaviors and actions.
Hey,
So,
he's got his own Bible verse now. He put it in there himself.
blasphemy. Now,
That's
you'd be surprised, but a lot of the Republicans I speak to out here that hate Virginia Fox, and she is on Donald Trump's coattails and bandwagons. And I was counting on this. She
Hmm.
doesn't have enough courage to actually stand up to Donald Trump. And I've said countless times, denouncing Donald Trump does not magically turn you into a lib or a leftist or a progressive. You can denounce Donald Trump and still remain true to your own values, even if we happen to disagree with some of those values, some of those
Hmm.
policies. This Trump or nothing is not the party, and that's why the party's ultimately going to suffer, and that's why people like me are going to win over votes of people that were formerly Trumpers because those flags are coming down, because he's saying that everything is great again magically and people are still suffering. And those people that previously voted for him are the ones that are suffering too.
Um, no, I do think that that is accurate. I do think that the support is hemorrhaging.
I gotta call it pretty soon here, guys, because my
Yep.
chest is really hurting.
No, absolutely. The one thing that I kind of asked and we didn't get to in your answer there, but what is your ground game plan for getting the turnout in the district? Like how do you plan on reaching out and getting these people to come out and vote for you um in this situation?
I hear you. I hear you. I mean, my core message that's really been resonating with the Republican based community is that I'm not blue or nothing. I'm not red or nothing. I'm really trying to hard to get us back to the red, white, and blue. And that's something that people are really appreciative of. Their eyes light up to. As far as name recognition and awareness, I've got campaigns going out, placing signage. I have to wait until January 13th to place the majority of my signage across the district. But we've got action a ground game building. We are accepting more and more volunteers every day. For your viewers, if you email directly my campaign manager, CM, that's for campaign manager, cm.clayton, the number 4, nc@gmail.com. If you're, as long as you don't even have to be in the district, but as long as you're in the state to
Hmm.
volunteer, we welcome your help. Obviously, if you live in the district, you know the area even better. So we absolutely welcome your help. But we've got an active ground game building. We've got events coming up. We're looking to book not only a comedy show, but a live concert and community benefit concert for helping families in need and things like that, where proceeds will go to that. Quite a I'm speaking with quite a few large headline bands right now, which is it kind of amazes me. But they're because of my Instagram, they're all following me and encouraging me and supporting me. And like I said, I'm getting support from every side of the aisle. This is an unprecedented time. I know we are so we have been so, what's the right word? Not We've just been made to feel like an unaffiliated representative is an impossibility because of the size
Hmm.
and scope of both the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. But this is a changing of times right now, the likes our country has never seen. Because for the majority of our politics, even when the parties flip flopped on ideologies, it was one or the other. The people today are seen, and a lot of it is because of what they call it, late stage crony capitalism. They're
Hmm.
seeing that there is no trickle down that has ever been proven. They're
It's gonna
seeing that
trickle all over our faces any day now. You just wait. You just wait.
they're seeing that costs aren't coming down. They're seeing,
Hmm.
Donald Trump brags about a cheaper Thanksgiving meal and doesn't even talk about the shrinkage within that meal of less products being offered at effectively the same price. So it's actually charging you more.
Hmm.
I just bought a box of Cheerios for damn sake. I made 4 bowls. 4
Yeah.
bowls from one box of Cheerios. How
Well,
is
the
that
dog
possible?
food. The dog food is where I've really noticed it, where the bags have gotten smaller. The bags have gotten smaller by 20 pounds and gone up by 10
Yeah.
bucks. And it's like,
But
like that's,
they're charging more
yeah.
or the same but for less product, and it
Mm-hmm.
seems like people are just getting used to this and being, God, I can't think of the damn word I was trying to say earlier, being comfortable with it or being
Yeah.
indoctrinated by it. None of these words I'm putting out right now are the word I'm trying to think of, but this thought of this of
Complacent.
normalization. Complacent. I wouldn't say such complacent because people are aware of it, but we
Mm-hmm.
are still being normalized to all this. Like this is just business as normal.
Desensitized.
Desensitized. Thank you. Um, and it's just we're being sold, and too many
Mm-hmm.
of us are eating it up hook, line, and sinker. That this is just the way things are, and this is not the
No.
way things are supposed to
No.
be, and this is not the way things have to be.
Absolutely not.
So
Uh, Well, obviously, I'm a huge fan just of you. I consider you a friend, and I'm very much as much shit as I give you about it, and as many questions as I ask. I'm,
you're a realist, and I appreciate it.
mhm. I'm a huge supporter, and I will be supporting you through the election, regardless. Regardless of what happens, you may be the one independent I support going into 2026, but I'll be supporting you. And I want everybody else to support you too, because I really do believe in what you're doing. And I think that if you are able to pull this off, that'll send a really powerful message that people without major funding, people who are willing to use social media and connect with real people on a real level, can go out and win without huge big donor funding, without a ton of party support or any party support, and it'll show that people are ready for change outside the status quo. So your last bit of shameless self-promotion, how can people donate to you? Will you take volunteers out of state to do call nights and things like that? um,
Absolutely.
okay, yeah, so
Absolutely. All volunteers contact again. CM stands for campaign manager. CM.Clayton, the number 4NC at gmail.com. As long as you're a resident of the United States of America, you can donate to my campaign at Clayton, the number 4NC.com. And I also appreciate on my personal content creation side, because social media is imperative this. If
mhm,
you want to support my content, just go to direct.me/empathy tour. And I've got all the paywalls there if you want to chip in and buy me a coffee or whatnot. Because, fun fact I found out is that as a content creator, the second you announce your candidacy for office, you lose a lot of brand deals
mhm,
because companies want to stay politically neutral. So,
yep.
another way that
I
the
mean, you were so
system kind
politically
of.
neutral before you
Right.
announced, never said
Exactly.
anything.
Exactly. So, I mean, my damn intro was "I'm not MAGA, please don't scroll," and I was getting brand deals left and right. But now that I'm a candidate, I lose brand
Hmm.
deals, which is my livelihood, keeps me going,
Yeah.
and again shows, as you were saying earlier about someone has an opportunity to win that isn't funded by a huge money machine, is that that's
Hmm.
part of it too, is that that's one of the reasons why only wealthy people run for office, just so that then they can, take their own ungodly amount of nepo baby wealth and roll it into the people's tax dollar wealth and their
Hmm.
shady deals under the table. So I appreciate any support. Direct.me/empathy tour, or if you want to donate directly to my campaign, Clayton, the number 4NC.com. And yeah, we'll just keep pressing on as soon as these antibiotics kick in.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, go follow him, Empathy Tour, Clayton for Congress, on all the social media stuff. He does really great content as well. He's putting in the effort to run for office. I also want to say I lied. I will be supporting Dan Osborne for Senate too. So at least two independent candidates this upcoming election. But
I like Dan.
I definitely support David. David is a personal friend. So when I say I vouch for him, I'm vouching for him on a personal level, and not just because I read his Wikipedia page and liked what his campaign website had to say. So definitely go support him. Thank you so much for suffering through Riverside with us to do this and your walking pneumonia. And thank you everybody for watching and supporting the channel, giving us the opportunity to do this. We always appreciate it. We've got the link in bio stuff if you want to financially support us as well. Otherwise, you can buy merch at offjoewagon.com, or just keep watching and listening and giving us this platform because that's already more than we could ask for. So we appreciate the hell out of each and every one of you, and we will see you guys next week.
That's
Thanks,
right.
guys.
Yeah, David, thanks for joining us. Hope you're feeling better. And if you have a couple minutes and you don't have to talk to anybody, fill out your Ballotpedia page uh, and share with the voters a little bit of your policies. See
Yeah,
you
we're
guys.
big fans of those Ballotpedia page.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've got one. I just need to add to it. But
All
hey,
right.
I'm an army of two. My campaign manager and me. I'm not backed by all these multi-billion-dollar political consultant firms.
So you hear that, guys? He needs a volunteer to help him do stuff like fill out Ballotpedia pages and just manage daily life. Which I've talked to him a few times. He definitely needs a volunteer just to help him manage daily life. So get on the volunteer rolls. We love y'all. This Minnesota goodbye is now officially over.